What Was That Like contains adult language and content and is not intended for all audiences. Listener discretion is advised.
Welcome to What Was That Like? I'm your host, Scott Johnson. This is the show where we talk to regular people just like you or just like me, who have found themselves in an extremely unusual situation. We'll hear their stories and get inside their head because we all want to know, what was that like? More information about each episode at whatwasthatlike.com. Here we go. What I'm about to tell you is based on a criminal complaint and investigation. All suspects are presumed innocent until proven guilty in a court of law. This happened in Waldo, Wisconsin. It was Thursday, September 27, 2018, just after lunchtime, around 1 p.m. Dean Hoffman entered the home of his former girlfriend, whose name I'm not going to mention. He was not invited in. He came in without permission. She told him to leave, and she started to call the police. But he stopped her from calling. He grabbed her by the waist, and he pushed her backwards into the stairs that led to the second floor. He pulled her hair, he ripped her shirt, and dragged her up the stairs. He punched her, causing a bloody nose and a black eye. He locked them both in the bathroom for about a half an hour while she tended to her bloody nose. Then he tied her up and kept her from leaving her own house for the next several hours. He even used her phone, posing as her, to text her children who lived nearby, telling them that she was sick and to not visit for a few days. Then he made a mistake. He ordered a pizza from Dominos. The delivery driver that brought the pizza was Joey Grundl. While the suspect was checking the pizza, Joey was able to make eye contact with the victim, and she communicated with him silently that she needed help. And because Joey was alert and willing to help, the story has a happy ending. The woman is safe, and Dean Hoffman is behind bars. Pretty exciting night for a guy who expected to just bring some food and collect some money. Like most people who are in some kind of situation like this, he said he doesn't consider himself a hero, but he is. If you'd like to contact Joey and congratulate him on his quick thinking, I'll have his email address in the show notes for this episode at whatwasthatlike.com/10, because this is episode 10. And if you want to get some really cool content on a regular basis, follow me on Instagram at whatwasthatlike. And here's my conversation with Joey. Have you ever made national news just by delivering a pizza before?
No, everything that's happened over the last few weeks or so is all new to me. It's usually just show up, make the delivery, and go home, and nothing big happens out of that.
So this is kind of a weird thing, huh?
Yeah, absolutely.
How long have you been working for Domino's?
Just over 2 years. August was like the 2-year anniversary or whatever. So
before this happened, do you remember, had you ever delivered a pizza to that house before?
Not that I recall. I mean, I have a lot of deliveries, so maybe it's a lapse in memory that I've been there before, but both the people that were there and the house itself were unfamiliar to me, so I don't think I've been there before.
And before, when you got there to deliver this pizza, before you rang the doorbell, did you have any kind of a weird sense or a weird feeling about it? Like maybe something was not quite right or anything like that?
Up until the point where I actually got to the door and the couple answered the door, everything seemed normal. It's just a normal delivery, 8 o'clock at night, people just wanting some food. I mean, it's late, people need to eat. So that was the only thing really going through my mind at that point.
All right. Well, let's just talk about what actually happened. And obviously somebody from that house called in and ordered a pizza. So when you went up to the door, who answered the door?
The person that answered the door was the ex-boyfriend, who at that time I didn't know that. I just assumed it was the current boyfriend or husband or whatever it was. He's the one that entered the door, and he seemed super friendly, and he's the one who's like super excited, like, "Hey, my food's here."
Okay. Okay. And he's the one with the long gray hair, gray beard.
Yes, that
from
would
what
be
I've
him.
seen on the news stories. Okay. All right. And his name was Dean Hoffman. Did you go inside at all?
No, I never left like the front step porch area. So,
All right. Well, tell us what exactly happened. Once he answers the door, and then how did it play out?
so started out. So I gave him the food, and then at one point he just kind of grabbed the box and then opened it up just to make sure the toppings were right. And she's like, "Hey, is this?" And he was asking the woman he was with, like, "Is this what you ordered?" She's like, "Yeah, that's what I ordered." And then I just happened to look up at her, and while he was kind of looking down at the pizza, that's when I noticed that she had a black eye on her, I believe it was her left eye, and she pointed to it, and she mouthed, "Help me," to me. Like, she didn't actually say it. She just wanted for me to see that she needed help without vocally vocally saying it, so he wouldn't hear. And then a few seconds went by. I kind of froze at first because something that's so unexpected. I'm like, wait, did I just see that? And then shortly after, she mouthed to me again, "Call the police." So after that happened, he disappeared for a few seconds. He ended up going to get me some money. So he came back, gave me the money. I said, "Thank you, have a good night," whatever, like a normal delivery. And at that point, that's when I walked into my car. And as I was driving back to the store, I dialed 911.
So when you were seeing her mouth these words that she needed help, were you deliberately thinking in your head, "Okay, I got to keep a straight face, got to act normal," or what were you thinking then?
I was just trying to think that I need to keep calm, making everything look normal, just because obviously she's in a dangerous situation. And if he finds out that, I know that something's going on, it's going to make things so much worse.
So you just went back to your car and you immediately dialed 911.
Sheboygan 911, what is the address of the emergency? Okay, can you repeat that for verification, please? What's the phone number that you're calling from? Verified. Okay, tell me exactly what happened.
Okay, so I'm a delivery driver for Dominos. I work for Plymouth, or the restaurant is in Plymouth. And I had a delivery, and it was some middle-aged couple, and it looked like the woman clearly had a black eye, and she pointed to it, and I swear she mouthed, "Help me." And then as I was leaving, I swear she also said, "Call the police," like she mouthed it.
Okay. Do you know the name of the people that live there by any chance?
The thing I have on the delivery tags is I'm not really sure how to pronounce the last name.
Okay. All right. How long ago did you leave there?
It's been like 4 minutes. I'm on my way back to the store. So.
Okay. So did you see any other person in there besides the female?
It was her, and I'm assuming her husband or whatever. He's the one that paid for it and whatever. She was standing behind him, and that's when I saw her mouth those things to me.
Okay.
That's all I saw. I don't know if there's anybody there or not.
Okay. And then what's your name?
Joey.
And your last name?
Grundl. Grundl.
DL. All right. All right, we've got some deputies on the way, Joey, okay?
Okay, thank you so much.
You're welcome. Thank you.
So you left the address after you called, or no, you drove away and called while you were driving.
Correct.
Okay. So how did you find out what had happened afterward?
The next day, the officer, I think he was the officer that ended up going to the house that night, showed up to my door. He wanted like a written statement. And he's like, "Yeah, no, this was a serious hostage situation. He had tied her up and all that stuff." He didn't get into too much detail, partially because I don't think he legally could. But he's like, "Yeah, this was a dangerous situation, and there's a good chance that she was not going to make it alive through the night." He didn't think that the man had any intention of letting her live through that night.
Wow. That is so scary. Yeah. Now, from the news reports that I read, and of course, we have to say this is all alleged. There hasn't been any conviction yet, but this is what I read. Hoffman broke into this house, which is where his ex-girlfriend was. She tried to call police, but he took her phone and began beating her. He tied her up with a power cord, and she ended up with a black eye and a bloody nose. And he tied her up on the bed and shoved a towel in her mouth. And he even remarked that he had a gun in his car and he should just shoot himself and her. And at this point, he faces charges of kidnapping, false imprisonment, strangulation, and suffocation, felony intimidation of a victim, and burglary of a building. And the lady was quoted as saying she truly believed that he was going to kill her that night. How do you feel knowing that you were just face to face with someone who may have committed all those crimes?
It's just crazy to think about that you never know the backstory. As a delivery person, you never know what's going on. You can always just maybe assume that everyone's just a normal person just getting their food, but I don't know much about these people other than their faces, and there's never much of a real interaction. It's just a thank you, hello, goodbye, etc. So it's just crazy to think about how you never really know the true intentions and how these people truly are. So.
Right. What's going on behind that door? Now, after this has happened, have you been in touch with that woman at all?
I have not. The only real interaction I've had was her son has come to the store, and he just said, "I just want to thank you personally for you saved my mom's life and etc. I just want to thank you for doing that."
Yeah,
and that's all the real extent I've had with any connection with her or her family. I just wanted to maybe kind of keep my distance because I don't know if she was ready to talk, and if she ever was, I'm always open to just to meet her personally. But I'm going to kind of leave that up to her.
I think that's a good idea. But I mean, seriously, you very well could have saved her life that night. You know that, right?
Yeah, I do know that. I've heard that so many times, and I try not to think of myself as a hero. I don't know. I think I would hope anyone else in a similar situation, at least had they noticed, would have at least just dialed 911. But I guess I don't know if anybody else would have. So
yeah, it's a good thing they had you that night instead of somebody else. You know, so many people go through their whole life with their head or their face in their phone, not really being aware of stuff that's going on. But it was good that you just happened to notice that this is a person that needs some help. Obviously, are you kind of a celebrity at your Domino's store now?
A little bit. I mean, it kind of died down a little bit where everything's kind of normal, but yeah, for a few weeks it was just all about, hey, it's the famous guy or whatever, it's the hero or whatever. So I heard that a while for a few weeks from my coworkers.
Does it make you when you're delivering a pizza now? Does it make you feel any differently when you approach a house, like thinking, I wonder what's going on in this one?
Just keep my eyes open a little more, just to be aware. Even if with that in mind, I'll probably never have something like this happen again, just because this was a rare instance. Like, this is almost out of a movie situation. I mean, I'll always keep my eyes open, see something suspicious, and say something if I see something again. Just because, again, you never know. So.
Yeah, you never know. You got to be ready for anything, right? All right. Well, it's a great story. We sure appreciate you sharing it with us, and hopefully we'll see a follow-up, perhaps, to find out what happens with this guy. But it sounds like you saved this lady from a pretty scary situation.
Yeah, and I'm hoping that I'm going to guess that he's going to be going away for a while. So at least that's what my hope is.
Sounds like it. We'll see how it turns out. All right, Joey, thanks again for sharing your story.
All right, thanks for having me. Great to tell it.
Thanks for listening to this episode. My goal for each show is to introduce you to people and stories that you just won't find on other podcasts. If you want to help support the show, you just need to subscribe, and that way you'll never miss an episode. You can click on any of the subscribe buttons on the website, which is whatwasthatlike.com. You'll see all the links right there at the top where you can subscribe directly to this show on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Google Play Music, Spotify, Stitcher Radio, or on whatever app you use to catch your podcasts. And you'll see there are also links to Twitter and Instagram, so you can follow us there, and I hope you do. And if you really want to connect with me and get in on the discussion with other listeners to this show, you can join our private Facebook group. You can find that at whatwasthatlike.com/Facebook. And of course, you can always email me directly at scott@whatwasthatlike.com, or just go to the website and click on Contact. I'd love to hear what you think of this episode or a previous episode. Thanks again for listening, and I'll see you on the next show where we'll once again ask the question, what was that like?